Welcome to my channel, Retirement After a Heart Transplant. If this is your first time here, my name is Alan, and I appreciate you stopping by. Today I'm titling this episode, Don't Let News and Politics Ruin Your Retirement. Now, this applies not only to today, but, when I was young, anytime. Nothing new under the sun. So the things I'm going to be talking about are not new. Also, this does not apply just to heart transplants, obviously. The name of my channel is Retirement After a Heart Transplant, but I'll be talking about retirement in general from time to time, having little or nothing to do with being a heart transplant. So the way I think of this and start talking about it is there's so much negative news out there, always has been, always will be. And since the dawn of the information age with the internet, it's everywhere. It's in your face. It's immediate. Whatever's happening on the other side of the world, you'll know instantaneously almost. And the temptation to worry or have fear over that is greater than ever now because of that. But the point I want to make today is when it comes to retirement planning and thinking about what's ahead for you, no matter what age you are, whether you're in your 20s and just beginning that journey, whether you're closer to my age, already in retirement, don't let fear and anxiousness rule how you make decisions. It's never a good idea for anything in life, and particularly for financial decisions for your retirement planning. Political parties and leaders come and go. If you're my age, or I'd say anywhere, got some age on you at all, you've seen this. You've lived long enough to know this. What seems today to be the worst thing in the world, no, it's not. It's happened before. We had a civil war in this country one time. 600,000 people died. I'm just saying, nothing new under the sun. When it comes to your retirement planning and on the financial end in particular, don't be anxious. Don't get over emotional about what's going on in the world. Focus on where you want to be when you retire and stick with that, whatever your plan may be. There are a lot of different ways you can get there. Most of retirement planning is going to be tied to the stock market in one way or another, particularly in the last 50 years or so, with the advent of 401k plans and IRAs and such as that. But it's always been a big deal for companies, who had pension plans. What's going on with the stock market, defined what happened to their pension plans. So whether you were aware of it or not, let's say you're older and had a pension plan, never really thought about it much, what's going on in the stock market. Well, I promise you the people running your retirement plan did think about it. So set your eyes on your goals and stick with them however you're going about planning for retirement. Prioritize your financial planning over any political or other concerns. Don't be swayed. You're in it for the long haul. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon, as has been said. But speaking of the stock market, it's always been cyclical. I don't know if it's this much this way this day and time or not, but as a young man, the general rule of thumb was, every 10, 12, maybe 15 years, there's going to be a stock market correction or a drop or crash or whatever you like to call it. Crash is a bad term. It's happened a few times, but usually it's going to be more of a little gentler correction than that. But in any case, that's going to happen. So just plan on it. Don't worry about it. It's just the nature of things. So I'm going to discuss a few of the stock market upheavals that have happened in my lifetime. My wife and I, as we have planned for retirement together for, about 50 years now. We've been a two-income family all of our lives. My wife wanted to work and wanted to stay home with the kids as well when they were born. So even though we were a two-income family all of our life, when our children were born, my wife did take off a good amount of time to stay home with them and get them started. And this was at a time when there was no Family Medical and Leave Act. There were probably almost no employers who paid you to be out of work for maternity leave. Wasn't required by law in any way, and it just wasn't the normal thing to do. Now that probably differed for some companies and some employees, but by and large, that's the way it was. So for us to make that decision was something of a sacrifice. She was out of work for months and months at a time and not bringing in any money. Uh, Now I know there are some of you listening, perhaps, that you've always had a one family income and you raise your kids with mom at home, but that's been rare even in my entire lifetime. It was the norm at one time, but that's long ago now. So some of the things that have happened in our life, the first thing I recall was in the 73, 74 time frame, 1973 or 4. And by the way, at that time, I was not really on the road to retirement savings. I was close to getting there, but I wasn't quite there yet. But I mention it because it was in my lifetime and it was a very big deal. That was the oil crisis, oil embargoes, whatnot. I remember the long gas lines that were a result of that. And obviously the stock market was impacted, roughly a 48% decline in the stock market during that time. Things were so bad during that time, and I do recall this, they had to come up with a new name for describing how bad it was. And so somebody came up with a term, the misery index. When you're looking at economic factors, you're looking at things like unemployment, you're looking at inflation, consumer price index, a number of indicators that you can look at. But they came up with this thing called the misery index, which was inflation and unemployment added together. During that time, at its peak, that number was 21.98%. It's hard to put that in context, but if you lived through it, you remember it. Next thing that was kind of a big drop in my life that I recall was in 1987, Black Monday market crash. There was a 22% almost immediate decline in the stock market, and that was pretty scary. By that time, I was well into my working career and saving for retirement with a company that had a pension plan at that time. Actually, at that time, there were no 401ks or IRAs because Congress had not quite yet created them. They were going to soon after. The next thing that happened in my lifetime was in 2000, the dot-com bubble, which burst. It was called the dot-com bubble burst. This was when tech companies just had a massive declines in their stock prices. I won't go into the reasons for that. I don't even know them all. I'm no financial expert by any means. But that was a big deal, 49% decline in the stock market. So by that time, IRAs, 401k plans were common. Some people still had pension plans. A few people still have them, by the way, today. They're getting more and more rare. But that was a very big thing that happened. 48% decline, and I remember it well. The next thing that happened in my lifetime was in 2008, the global crisis due to what's called now the Great Recession, I guess. Crisis triggered by the subprime mortgage collapse. Not going to go into details about all that, but there was a 57% drop in the stock market. And, I can remember quite well, my 401k plan taking probably a 35 to 40% hit. It was a big deal. That was a major one, particularly because it was getting later in my working career. It was 2008. The last thing that happened that was very large that is in my lifetime in terms of market problems was the COVID-19 era market collapse, which, depending on who you ask, was about 34% of market value. By that time, for me, it didn't matter as much because I had already gone through heart transplant, had made the decision not to return to full-time, let's get it boring through my normal lifetime career. Still was working some part-time, but anyway, I was not exposed to the market as directly as I was in earlier times in my life. So that one didn't bother me as much. I already knew where my retirement was headed, and most things were kind of nailed down by then. Anyway, these things all happened. There were times when I was very nervous about it. I can remember, particularly as a young man. But all that time, I guess I was fortunate enough not to be panicky. I've never been a panicky person in general, and I didn't panic about these things. I didn't go rushing and making all kinds of changes in my investments and this, that, and the other. I just kind of let things ride and waited to see what would happen. And the market typically comes back. It always does. So my point being, I guess, is don't let that make you panic. Uh, don't, just shifting away from the whole thing with finances. Whether you are retired now or you're still working toward retirement, remember that politics is transient. Don't let that, affect your retirement life. You need to relax a little bit when you're retired and not worry so much about all that. I know not everybody can, and that's fine. That's okay. I've had times in my life when I was very politically active. I've had other times in my life when I was not, probably more often not. But in any case, don't let that ruin your retirement. Don't let it impact relationships. Relationships are far more important than anything going on politically. Um, so be sure and not let that happen. And don't let that impact your retirement or anything else. Again, like I said, your retirement years ought to be more relaxed in that regard and more enjoyable to whatever extent you can enjoy it. So just, relax when you're getting to that point where you are retired. Don't let everything disrupt your life and make you worry. I think for most of us, by the time we get older, we're kind of past that, but not for everybody. I have friends who are, I don't know, they're kind of panicky or upset or whatever about this, that, or the other, and I just refuse to go there at this stage of my life. So that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about today. I hope there was something interesting that was said. If you got any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. Otherwise, I'd appreciate it if you would like this video and subscribe to my channel. And once again, I thank you for stopping by today. And until next time, bye-bye.